Guys, thank you all for coming on relatively short notice, and for those of you joining us on Periscope, thank you for joining us. My name is Detective Sergeant Dana Costin. I'm the Police Department's Public Affairs Officer here in Cape Coral. I got some information from our traffic homicide investigator yet again, and I wanted to share that information with all of you and with the community as well. Today, police in Pawtucket, Rhode Island made an arrest on a Montague A. Moselle, M-O-S-E-L-L-E, white male, date of birth is 2/6/79. He was a driver involved in the July 4th, 2015 fatality crash that occurred at the intersection of Veterans Memorial Parkway and Skyline Boulevard. He was arrested on a warrant issued by the Cape Coral Police Department for the following charges: DUI manslaughter for the death of Paul Ortiz, DUI manslaughter for the death of Joan Ortiz, DUI causing personal injury against Paul Ortiz, DUI causing personal injury against Kathleen Ortiz, DUI causing property damage for the other vehicle, and DUI causing property damage for a street sign. The traffic crash resulted in the death of 2 passengers in the second vehicle, killing Paul Ortiz, white male, date of birth of 10/12/1930 that night, and Joan Ortiz, white female, date of birth 7/19/36, almost 2 weeks later. Last week, the Cape Coral Police Department Major Crash Investigator completed his investigation and submitted an application for an arrest warrant. Yesterday, Corporal Andrew Satterley of our traffic unit was notified that the warrant had been approved and was active. He contacted the Pawtucket, Rhode Island Police Department and asked for their assistance in serving the warrant. Today at 1:50 p.m., Corporal Satterley was notified by the Cape Coral Police Department Communications Section that Moselle had been placed under arrest in his hometown of Pawtucket, Rhode Island. A teletype has been received by the Cape Coral Police Department Communications Section confirming his arrest and that he's being held without bond pending extradition back here to Lee County. That concludes the update that I have in this case. I wanted to get you guys that information. I know that we have had a lot of news regarding DUIs here lately in Cape Coral, and especially with this weekend, since we have multiple DUI operations going on, I thought that this would be timely information for you to use for your stories. So if you all have any questions, I'll open it up for a few questions now, and I know you're probably pressed for time for your 6 o'clock broadcasts. So if you have any questions.
What is the operation going on tonight?
Well, this is part of the ongoing operations that we've been doing for high visibility enforcement here in Cape Coral. We were awarded a grant of about $45,000 by the Florida Department of Transportation back in April. We've been conducting a number of HVE operations to include saturation patrols as well as 1 DUI checkpoint so far. Last night we conducted a HVE operation, which was a saturation patrol citywide. Tonight's operation will be a DUI checkpoint.
And kind of like with the Diamond Billiards situation, this one too, it took a long time to actually make an arrest. You kind of want to explain why? Again,
much like the Diamond Billiards situation, these arrests typically are not done at the scene. You're talking about a homicide investigation that happens to involve a car. So you're looking at several weeks, in some cases several months of investigation before an arrest is going to be made. What you've seen here is very typical in a case like this. Anything else, guys?
Were the victims in that crash, were they locals or were they also out of town? I think I remember them being out of town.
I don't know for certain. I believe you are correct that they were out of town coming to celebrate 4th of July with family, but I would have to confirm that for you.
Now that the suspect is in custody, what is your guys' process of bringing him back here?
They'll make arrangements with the Lee County Sheriff's Office, and they'll have him transported back down here. Again, that's something you'd have to check with them as far as extradition processes go.
Is the investigation different when it's somebody that's out of town?
How do you mean?
I mean, he's not a local person. So is there any fear that if you don't arrest him at that moment, you won't be able to arrest him later on?
Well, the fact of the matter is an arrest has to be based on probable cause, and we can't rush to probable cause out of fear because somebody lives out of town. So the process has to be carried forward the way it needs to be carried forward. And in a case like this, it's meticulous, methodical investigation. There's a lot of science-based work that goes in here. You have multiple victims, a relatively large crash scene, and a lot of science-based investigation that our forensics people and our traffic homicide investigators have to do.
Do you know what his blood alcohol level was?
I don't have that. That would probably be available in the report update that you could request through records on Monday. Okay. If nothing else, thank you all very much for coming. And we'll have an update for you later on this weekend regarding the high visibility operations that took place last night and tonight. So thank you very much. And for those of you on Periscope, thank you very much for joining us as well. I'm Sergeant Dana Costin signing off for the Cape Coral Police Department.